Hi, everyone. I'm Donna Druchunas, and this is another session of Procreate and Tech Tips with Sequential Artist Workshop. Today, we're going to work on, in Procreate, the canvas settings and drawing guide. We worked on the drawing guide for creating a ruler in the last session, so you should look for that in the YouTube playlist if you haven't seen that yet. But now we're going to go back into Procreate, and I'm going to straighten out my camera, and we're going to look at all the settings for the canvas. And I already spotlighted my camera, so I can, yeah. We're going to look at all the settings for the canvas, and we're going to look at the some paper texture stuff if we get that far, because that's also related to setting up the canvas for your art. Yeah, so this is the canvas menu. And you can all get to it real easily is if you just go up to the little wrench next to the gallery in actions, and then canvas is the second one in. So if you look in there, you'll see it's got a bunch of things. So I don't really understand exactly how they decided to arrange it, because crop and resize and canvas information are really related. Okay, so they should be together, but they're not. Then we have animation assist and page assist. So I'm going to show you what those two things do and how I use them sometimes, even if I'm not doing animation. And then we'll look more at the drawing guide, and I have a couple tips for you for using the reference feature, even if you don't use a reference photo. And then this is pretty nothing, but I'll show you how to flip your canvas horizontally or vertically if you want to take a look at what it looks like on a different angle. So first thing, we'll start at the bottom because this is the most basic, and we're going to go into canvas information. So you can go ahead and do this with me on your iPad. So you click on the wrench actions, and then all the way, make sure you have canvas highlighted blue. Then all the way at the bottom is canvas information. So first thing you can do if you are ever going to share your work or anything, and if you haven't titled it yet, you can go in here to add a title. Of course, you can do that in the gallery too, but you can sign your art in here. And so that's kind of handy if you're going to share it or anything. You can see what the dimensions are. So you can't edit anything in here, but if you want to see how many pixels you have and what the settings are for this file, you can. This is one I made for screen size, and so this is the default that my iPad gives me for my screen. This will be different if you pick screen size, depending on the size of your iPad. But you can look in this for anything if you don't remember or you don't know what you had set up. You can see what it said. Then you can see a bunch of stuff about layers. So you can see the maximum layers you can have for your iPad and the size of your canvas. And you can see how many layers are used and how many are left. So these two numbers add up to the total. Then you can also look down here and see if you have layer assist on, if you have any clipping masks on, or layer masks, or layer groups. So if you're not sure about that, and say you had like 100 layers and you don't remember if you had a layer group on or an assisted layer, you can look in here to find out if you're using those features. Alas, it doesn't tell you which layers it is, I don't think. It just tells you how many. But still, if you're not sure and you're like, why isn't this, do I have a layer mask somewhere or something? You can look. It tells you what color profile you have. And because I picked screen size, it uses display P3, which is a kind of RGB. And you can change it here. But because this is already RGB, I can only change it to other RGBs. You can't switch between CMYK and RGB in Procreate. And then if you want to record your actions as you're doing it, to how people put those playbacks of their art being done, you can turn that on. I don't use that because it makes my files bigger. And then I never look in here, but look, you can look up like how big is your file in megabytes, and then how long have you been working on it? I've been working on this one for 2 minutes. and I made 18 strokes with my pencil. I don't know why you'd care that, but just for amusement, I'm going to go into something that's from one of my comics that I've been messing around with even more for a class I'm going to teach. And let's go in here and say canvas information and see what we get here. So I've got 41 used layers. I only have 12 left. I have 5 clipping masks, 1 layer mask, and 4 layer groups. So it's telling me that. And then when I go in statistics, I've made 3,811 strokes. And I worked on this for about 4 hours, and it's 230 megabytes. And it might, yeah, it has the video on because I didn't turn it off when I first got my iPad. I didn't know even that that was there. So I want to show you that. So this is just information that you can get about your canvas. So if you're ever curious and you want to see stuff like that, you can take in. Only thing you can change in here is the dimensions. Just give me a second. We're in the middle of a major basement remodel and heating upgrade, and people are coming in and out. Anyway, so the only thing you can change in here is the color profile. You can't change the size or anything. You have to go into crop and resize to do that. And we've looked at this a lot in the other videos, but I want to show you something here that's pretty important because it has crop and resize. So how do you crop versus how do you resize? So first of all, we'll just go and we'll click settings and it opens this window. Okay. So if you want to crop your image and cut part of it off, you want to make sure resample canvas is not checked. Okay. And resample canvas will change it from crop to resize. So let me just show you what happens. If I drag this smaller and I have it on resample canvas off, the box gets smaller, but the picture doesn't change size. So when I say done, let's get rid of that. Turn that off. So when I say done, look, it's cut off all of my image. And that was because resample was not checked. So I'm going to undo that. Okay, and then I'm going to go back into the actions, canvas, crop, and resize, and I'm going to go into settings. The very first thing I'm going to check is a resample canvas. Now I'm going to make it smaller, and it should shrink the image rather than cutting it off. And let's see what happens. It didn't. Okay. So we're going to go resample canvas. I don't know why it didn't, but I'm going to go into here and it was 6 inches and I'm going to say make this 3 inches by 4 inches and then say done. See, now it doesn't look like it did anything because it has less pixels now instead of getting cut off. So I just want you to be aware of that. If something's not working how you think it should, when you're in crop or resize, the very first thing you should check is resample canvas. The only time I use resample canvas to make an image smaller is if it's going to go on the web. And like this image here, if I go in and see how many pixels it has, it's got 4,000 pixels and it's 450 DPI, and I don't need that for the web. So I might shrink this with resample canvas to make a smaller image for the web. Otherwise, I don't use that. In fact, I don't use this feature a lot. I try to make my canvas exactly the size I want for starters and just go with it. So, but it's there. Any questions on that?
Donna, I didn't see how to turn off the video, or maybe it's just
Oh,
automatically
yeah.
off.
Thank you, Carol. The turn off the video is not in Procreate. You have to go to your settings app and then look for Procreate, which is going to be way down there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then somewhere in there is the video recording thing. And I can never remember it. I have to look it up every time.
Okay.
But yeah, because I don't know why, but it's not in Procreate. You have to go into here and look for it. And I usually have to Google it.
Is it disabled time lapse, Donna?
Yeah, did you
That
just see that?
Yeah.
Under actions.
Okay,
On
so
the
let me go back
canvas.
into there. Thank you, Allison. So go back in here, we'll go Procreate. I do not even see what you're.
Right there, above simplified undos.
Yeah.
Oh, disable time lapse. Yes, thank you. Turn that off. Then it's off by default for everything you do. You can turn it on and off for one image at a time, but this is the only way to turn it off for everything. And you will find that your files get much smaller when you make new files with this turned off. They won't get bloated with video in them. So, and that's in the regular iPad settings. You have to scroll all the way down to Procreate, and then you have to read very carefully and look for disable time lapse, which, you know, obviously I can't read English very well because I didn't see that. Okay. So that's the canvas information and cropping. Like I said, I try not to use the crop and resize much, and I do look in the canvas information occasionally, but once I set my things up how I want, I rarely use either of those. Now, I do use animation and page assist. So I'll show you how those work. This is a journal I'm doing for taking notes for a possible future project or just for enjoying studying a book and reading and researching. And so I've gone into my canvas under the wrench actions and I've turned on page assist. And this thing pops up on the bottom showing you all the pages, which match up to sort of the layers. I say sort of because if you have single layers, each of those is a page. And what's kind of cool, see, as I click on each layer, I see only that layer instead of seeing all the layers at once. And then some of my layers, some of my pages have multiple layers in them. And that's you can do by having a layer group. So I'm not finished with this page yet of collecting information for my research. So I've left it as a layer group. I can add more stuff into this layer group and it becomes a page. When I'm done, I just go flatten and flatten the group. To make a layer group, you just click a layer and then swipe on the other layer or layers you want to add to the group and click group up here at the top. And anything that's a group is a single page, or anything that's just a layer that's outside of the groups is a single page. So I kind of like this for this journal I'm doing because I can kind of just page through it real easily, see each layer or layer group and say, and then I can go to these ones that I'm not done with and I can, you know, I can draw on it and I can add more notes and I can say, look, you know, look this up or put on more text or another image, anything I want in that layer group. So like if I wanted to add a photo into that layer group, so I'm in this layer group now for that page. And if I go actions, add, insert a photo and pick something from my photo album, like these mittens, it's going to add them right into that layer group. And so they come on that page. I don't use this a lot for making comics. But there's no reason you couldn't. If you were making a short comic with 6 or 8 pages, you could make a separate layer or a separate layer group for each page, and you could page through them like that. The other thing that's really cool about this is when you go into the actions and share, down at the bottom, if you say share layers and PDF, it will make a PDF with all of these pages in it. So instead of just making a PDF of one page like we would from most Procreate files, whoops, this will make a PDF with a bunch of pages. So let me do that and show you. So I've got, I don't know, 10 or 12 pages in here. So if I go into here and say share, export PDF, it gives you a quality thing. I'll just say good because that's fastest. And now I can save it to my files or whatever. For right now, I'm going to open it in my Books app so I can show you it real quickly. So that's going to open right here. And you could open this in any app that reads a PDF. And here I have a PDF with all my pages in it. And if it was like an actual comic, each one would be a comic page. So I think that's really cool. Especially like if you're doing something for an anthology and it's only going to have 6 pages or 8 pages. I don't think I would use this for a book with hundreds of pages. You'll run out of layers for sure. But that's what that does. And then any questions on that?
Where did you, hi, this is Maria. I just
Hi,
joined
Maria.
in. And, I'm a bit of a novice at this.
Okay.
Where did you get the page? Like, how do you get multiple pages there?
Right.
Because
Okay.
when I
So
make,
let's go here and let's start from scratch and make one. So I'm going to make a new file and I'm going to pick one of these sizes for my thing. So I'll pick 5 by 7 for right now. That's just one of the things in my list. So right now I have just this blank. So I'm going to go here into the Actions canvas. We're mostly talking about Canvas today. And I'm going to click Page Assist. As soon as I click that, you see this thing opens down here?
yeah,
And it has
okay.
one page in it. So if I can say new page right here, and it will add more pages. And then I can go to any of these pages and draw on them in any way I want. Go to another page and I can put a big X on it, and go to another page. I can do a quick little selfie. And so each layer becomes a page. Right here, you see them as pages, but you can also look at them in the layers. So I didn't add any layers, but each page I added became a layer. Does that answer you?
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
And am I right that the huge difference is that you cannot, there's no way to see more than one layer at a time. So like if you took your
Right.
face, for example,
Right.
what's
So
page
for
2
what?
and you wanted to color it, you can't.
Right. You can, but I'll show you how. So first here,
okay.
we have Page Assist on. So we only see one layer at a time or one page at a time. They're the same thing. It just gives you this extra tool that you can use to go from page to page if you don't want to have this big window open. Right. So now if I go back to my canvas and I turn Page Assist off, I see all my layers at once. So and if I wanted to draw a picture with multiple layers, I would do it this way. But if I wanted to make something with multiple pages, I would do it this way. So now Beth has a really good question. I want to color this, but I don't want to color it on this layer. I want to color it on this layer, but they're 2 separate pages. How do I get them to show up at the same time? So here I have the face selected. I'm going to select the blank layer that's near it by swiping. So anytime you have one layer selected, you can select more layers by swiping right on them. So the blue layers are the selected ones. The dark blue is the one I clicked first. Now I'm going to say group. Now these 2 layers are in a group and that becomes one page. The group becomes a page. So I can go into this group, go into this blank layer now, take a color and a watercolor brush or something, and I can color my face.
Thank you. I had not figured that part out. Thank you.
And then I can turn the color on and off, the line's still there. So you can put as many layers as you want in the group, and that will stay as one page. But if you have no layer groups, each layer is its own page. So, you can use this for whatever you want. Like I said, I use it for making short comics that are only going to have 4 pages, and I don't feel like going out of the file and opening another file for the next page. And, if I'm going to have 5 layers in each page, I have plenty of layers here, and I can do that. And I usually end up making each page a layer group because I usually want to do, something else. For example, if I wanted to have text on the layer with the X, and I go up here to Actions, Add Text, And there it's just added some text. I can type whatever I want, but it just says text. Now the text is on its own page and the X is on its own page. So same thing again. If I want the text and the X to be on the same page, I have to highlight them both by clicking one and then swiping the other one and hit group. Now the text and the X are on one page. We still have 2 layers, so I can edit the text and I can go draw more on the page. So there's still 2 layers, but because they're in a group, Procreate makes it 1 page. So that's part of the Actions canvas. That's how you do that, is you turn that on as Page Assist. So if I turn that off, all my layers come back as separate layers and I can see them all at once. I can turn on Animation Assist and it almost works the same way, except that you can play it as a movie. So if you want to make a really simple animation, you can use Procreate to do that. You can use this just like Page Assist if you want, and you could see as you go to each one. They're not all invisible because Animation Assist has this extra thing called settings where it has stuff for the animation, and it has this thing called onion skin. And onion skin means you can see multiple layers at a time as if you were using transparent paper. And so you can turn the onion skin things to none, and then it works just like Page Assist. So you can really use either one. It doesn't matter. It just that one is intended for animation, one is intended for pages. But other than the extra settings you have in Animation Assist, they're the same. So here's a little silly thing I made in Animation Assist with 2 photos, and I repeated them a bunch of times because I wanted to, but there's only 2 photos in here. So I just made my mittens clap. So you can't do really fancy stuff in here unless you do a lot of drawing, because you have to draw each frame separately. But like the kind of animation this is like a flip book. If you've ever made a flip book where you go and the little character moves along the pages, that's what you can do here. But I really, that's probably the only time I ever used Animation Assist for anything. All right. Any questions about those?
Yes, Donna, it's Susan here. I
Uh-huh.
have a question about grouping. I've
Okay.
been pinching layers together. Is that the same as grouping?
No,
No.
great question. So let's go back into my face thing here. And so you can see here when I have this, it says group, and I click on the arrow here, and there's 2 layers inside it. Same
Okay.
thing here. This group I made, it says group. I mean, I could change the name, but it says group when I create it. And also the icon is a tiny picture of multiple layers, and I can look inside it. So here's another layer I have. Okay, and let's add another one. So now I have I have 3 layers here. So I have, and they're all separate pages right now because we had Page Assist on. Some layer, this one has squiggles. This one has a pink blotch. Now, if I go like this and this, like I did here, and say group, they become 2 layers inside of a container. If I pinch them, they become 1 layer. And Procreate merges them however it figures out with its internal math how to merge them. But that's 1 layer. You can't edit only one part of it anymore. It's forever merged. So that's the difference between pinching them together. And you can pinch a bunch of layers together. It doesn't have to be just 2. I just pinched 3 and they became 1 layer. And you can also go like this and make a group with more than 2. So that's the difference. The group, it joins them, but they're still separate inside the container. Merge
Okay.
they're smushed together forever.
And you can't, so you can only go into and say change the font in a text layer if it's already in a group.
If it's a text layer. So watch what happens if I pinch these. So look here, I'm on this group that has
Yeah.
text and page 3 with the X and the dots. If I merge it, it's just a drawing layer now. There's no text there. I can't click on it. I can't go here and say edit text because it's not text anymore. It's just part of this drawing layer. So I'll go, and when I undo it, it's a text layer. It has this A on it, which means that you can go in here and say edit text.
Ah, okay.
But if
Thank
it doesn't have that A on it as the icon, it's not really text, even if it looks like text.
Okay.
Because
you.
Procreate can turn text into just pixels.
Right.
And you can tell the difference because the real text layers that you can edit have this A for the icon instead of the little drawing.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome. So that's Drawing Assist and Animation Assist. Like you said, they're very similar. If you just want to make a multi-page Page Assist and Animation Assist. I use it mostly for making a multi-page comic, and I once in my life made one animation. So, okay. So what's next on my list? The next thing is the drawing guide. Okay, so we played with the drawing guide to make a ruler last session. Again, you can look that up on the YouTube playlist for the Procreate and Tech Tips for the Sequential Artist Workshop YouTube channel. But here, I wanted to show you, you can use the drawing guide in different ways. So here I have a butterfly that's the same on the right and the left. And you can see there's a line going down the middle of the page. That's my drawing guide here. So I'm going to show you how I made this. It happens to be a square canvas, but it doesn't have to be. You can pick screen size again, or you can pick square or any paper size you want. I'm going to show you this, and then I'm going to show you how you can use these for comics, because, you know, drawing a butterfly is not necessarily something we're going to do for comics a lot. But I'll show you how this can be useful for comics. So now, again, we're going to go in the Wrench Actions Canvas, and we're going to turn on the drawing guide. And if you're in a brand new document, it always comes up to this grid of squares. And that's what we were playing with last week, changing the size of the grid. And that's in Edit Drawing Guide. And that's where we were going to go again today. So we turn the drawing guide on, and we click Edit Drawing Guide. The first thing I'm going to do, just so you can see what's going on, is I'm going to make my lines more opaque and thicker, and I'm going to pick a color for them. So you can make the lines show up more or less. They're not going to show up if you print or export. This is just a guide while you're using it. But now you can see them better on mine. And instead of 2D grid, we're going to look in Symmetry, which is on the right. Okay, and each of these has its own settings for the color and the thickness and everything. So here in Symmetry, I clicked it and now it just has one line, but there's more things we can set. This thing called Options belongs to Symmetry. So if you look in here, you'll see that it has vertical, horizontal, quadrant, and radial, and then a thing called rotational symmetry. And then this is also where you turn assisted drawing on and off. So we'll turn assisted drawing on, and we're going to stay on vertical. We'll say done. So this is how I drew the butterfly. Now, when I draw on this layer, if I open my layers palette, you'll see right here, it says in tiny layers assisted. And I can look in this menu here and see that drawing assist is checked. And you can turn that on and off in that layer menu. But I want drawing assist on. So anything I draw on this side is going to come up on this side and vice versa. So I drew some, whoops, let's pick a different brush. Let's pick like more of a drawing brush. Okay, so I drew some silly butterfly wings and see how it came the same on both sides. And then I filled it with a color. Okay, and then I made another layer and I picked black. And oh my gosh, it didn't come out on both sides. Why? Because I made a new layer and I have to turn drawing assist on or off for each layer. So this layer has assisted here. And if I look, it's checked. The new layer will not have that on automatically. I have to turn it on. Now I can take my black, and this is what I did to draw the rest of my butterfly. And I drew that, and I drew that, and I drew some spots on it. And everything I do comes out on both sides of the drawing. So anything you need to be exactly the same on both sides, you can draw with this technique. Like I said, the butterfly is probably not very useful for most of our comics, but if you want a butterfly in your comic, you can create it this way and then save it and import it into other documents, whatever. But it does it to the whole canvas. So here it's split it in half, and everything on each side will be the opposite. Any questions? Okay, so I'm going to turn these two layers into a group and turn them off, and then I'm going to add a new layer. And now I want to use a different drawing guide. So I can change the drawing guide in a document. It's not set forever. I can change it. So I can go back to Actions Wrench Canvas Drawing Guide. I can say Edit Drawing Guide again. And when I go into symmetry, I can change the option to horizontal. Now I have a line going this way. Or I can change it to quadrant, which makes 4 squares, or radial, which makes 8 sections. And on all of these, it has the assisted drawing on and off and rotational symmetry on and off. So, so it has more than one option, and you can change it as you go. Let me show you what I did with the horizontal one in another drawing. I used the horizontal symmetry to draw this. And what I did was I started by drawing this layer of buildings with the symmetry on. So it came out like that. And then I did some modifications to the bottom part to make it look like it was underwater. So I'm going to show you that from scratch. Same thing, I did square for this, but you could use any size you want. Now I'm rotating my canvas because it's easier for me to draw that way. And I can't turn my whole iPad right now because it will be cut off in the camera. So just if you didn't know this, when you open a new canvas, it's full like that. You can use your two fingers to pinch and zoom and move it around. And if you pinch fast and let go, it goes back to full size. So if you didn't know that, that's a handy thing. Now, when I go in and turn on Drawing Guide, Edit Drawing Guide, Symmetry, Horizontal, even though come on, let's change the color of that. Even though I tipped my page, the line, it sticks to the paper. So as I turn the document, the drawing guide turns with it. So it doesn't stay even with your iPad, it stays even with the paper. So now what I did was, I just took my pencil and I drew my cityscape here. Like that. So I would get the same thing for each building. You know, we can pretend this is the 1970s and this one has a TV antenna. So just a quick cityscape. And now I have both. Now, I mean, that's how I started this. And then I added another layer and I added some colors and other things like that. But that's how I got them both to be the same to start with. So that's interesting, but I could have done this too. I could have done this on the butterfly as well. You don't have to use that feature. I'm going to say there's 3 ways or 8 ways to do everything digitally. So, you know, this one will have a water tower, water tank on top. Okay, whatever. I could have just done that and then say, swipe left on this, duplicate the layer. And in the transform tool up here, which is the arrow, I could say flip vertical and slide it down. And that did the same thing as using the horizontal drawing assist. So if you wanted to draw all at once, you can use that, or you can draw something and flip it vertical, and then you have 2 layers for it. That's entirely up to you. I just like to show that there's multiple ways. Let's go back to the one I drew with the drawing assist though.
I'm
And-
sorry, Donna, where's the
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, where's the transform again? Did you
Oh,
say?
yeah, the transform tool is the arrow at the up top left. And that's
Oh,
what
okay.
you use if you want to scale something or size it or move it. One of the things that it has in here is flip vertical and also flip horizontal. So it's not just for moving things around. You can also flip them and do other things. You can distort them and other things with them. But for this case, I just wanted to show you 2 ways to make the same thing right side up and upside down, right? So for here then to make that, how did I make that look like it was in the water? I picked blue and some kind of painterly brush, and on a new layer, I painted over it like it's water. And then I used Liquify to go back on my first layer, and I'm gonna turn off layer assist now, turn off drawing assist, and I'm gonna go to I really love this feature, so it has nothing to do with the symmetry per se, but I like this feature, so I always like to show fun ways to use it. I go into the adjustments, magic wand, liquify way near the bottom. And if I take this push setting and make it pretty small, I can go on my ink layer there and I can like wrinkle it up, like the water has some motion in it. And then I can take the crystals one and I can make it get even more, get kind of jaggedy. So that's the water moving. And now it can look kind of like a reflection. I can, add more watercolor to it if I want to make it not so opaque or anything. So if you ever need a reflection of in a mirror or in the water or something, you can use the symmetry tool to create the 2 versions and then mess with them to change it if you want. And then the last thing I did on this is I made a new layer and I just said, well, what if there's a wall here at the, there's a wall there. So I made a new layer and I just colored it in with a different brush that kind of looks like bricks and brown, and I made a wall. And now my wall's not really opaque enough, so I can duplicate it a few times till it's not see-through anymore. And then here, Susan, here's a good reason. I made 4 copies of the wall till I couldn't see through it, and then I pinched them to turn them into 1 layer because I don't need the versions of it. And now I have like a seawall between the buildings and the water. So anytime you need a reflection of something, you can mess around with the symmetry horizontal and for that, and then vertical was for the butterfly. So just quick view at these other 2. This is the quadrant one. So again, I'll go into Canvas, Drawing Guide, Edit Drawing Guide. And so when I'm in Edit Drawing Guide, I picked Symmetry, and then in Options, I pick Quadrant, and it has rotational symmetry on and off. So let's turn that on first. I'll show you what these do, and then I'll show you how you can use these to make cool panel borders. Okay, so I'll make a new layer. Now, rotational symmetry, if I draw a curve, oops, guess what? I didn't turn drawing assist on. Now I did. So it says assisted. I turned it on. And now when I draw a curve with rotational symmetry on, notice how it rotates around, right? It just goes around. Each one is rotated 45 degrees. Does everyone see that? Just showing you what that feature is. If I go back into the edit drawing guide and turn the rotational symmetry off, but leave it on quadrant. And now I'm gonna make a new layer, turn on Drawing Assist, turn off my other layers. Now if I make the same shape, it's not rotating it, it's flipping it up and down and side to side. So you can play with this quadrants just for drawing cool things, like if you just wanted to make patterns, and I mean, anything you do looks cool. But I really love it for making something like this. So I made these cool panel borders using the quadrant symmetry and Drawing Assist. So I'll turn off my layers and we'll take a look at what I did. So I used screen size for this, but again, you can use any page size you want. It can be vertical, it can be horizontal. Let's turn it this way for now. So I went into my canvas settings under the actions wrench and I hit edit drawing guide. I picked symmetry, and in my options, I have quadrant and assisted drawing. Remember, that only works for the current layer. You have to set it for every layer, but I have that, and now that's set. And I can see that there. Now, here's what's cool. If I take black and I take a brush that I usually use for drawing panels, if I start right here in the center, I can make, whoops, my layer's hidden. Have to add a new layer. Drawing Assist. Okay. I draw on the wrong layer all the time. Those of you who watch me will be familiar with that. That now, if I start in the center and draw out and then hold my pencil down at the end, and when I draw the line until it snaps to a straight line, I can create a X on my page that's exactly in quadrants. And then I can either make another layer to draw in, and you can make as many layers as you want, obviously, and I can draw triangles in there for my panels. And again, if you draw a triangle and it's sloppy, if you hold before you pick your pencil up, it will neaten up, and you can move the pencil to scale it and size it. And you can go up here and pick different options for your shape if but so you draw 3 lines of a triangle, hold the pencil down. This is called a quick shape. And then you can drag the pencil around to move it a little. And so I'm going to draw 4 triangles. And you can be more precise in this with, making things straighter and so forth, but I'm not interested in that personally. Now I have 4 triangles. I dragged black in there and I got 4 cool panels like that. And what I did for the other one is I just went to another blank layer, turned on Drawing Assist, and drew like a diamond and then filled it with white. And now I've got a diamond in the middle. And because, if I don't like these things on the end, I can go in and erase them, and it does it in all 4 spots evenly. But I just thought that's really cool. Like if you have an explosion or you need to show somebody doing something and what the other 4 people are doing or whatever, we tend to always think of just making panels that are just rectangles that stand up straight, but you could do stuff like this and play with it, see what you can come up with. You can make all kinds of cool panel arrangements using this feature. And that's the quadrant one. You could probably do it too with the horizontal and vertical. So I would just say play with them and use your imagination, because you can do super fun stuff with them. Any questions on that?
I have a question.
Go ahead,
So
Carol.
I'm trying to make triangles, and I like you, I like a lot of non-straight lines, but then I want to be able to make a straight line or a straight panel. And when I hold it down, I can hold it down forever and it doesn't do anything but make the blob bigger. Is there something that needs to be turned on that I'm not turning on?
So you're drawing a triangle and it's not snapping.
Right. No, oh, that's called snapping. Okay,
It's
not
called
snapping.
quick shape, and you can go
Okay.
into your wrench actions
Okay.
and then go into preferences. And we'll look in gesture controls, and quick shape is in there. And you can set it to, by default, it comes set to draw and hold, and you can change this how long you have to hold it. But you can
Oh,
also set it to other things, but it comes set to draw and hold by default. So perhaps you have changed it to something else, or it's taking too long and you need to move this down so it snaps sooner. And so that is in, again, the settings for the gesture controls is in the actions wrench, preferences, gesture controls. And there's a bunch of things you can change, like double tap for undo, and oh, these are all things you can change. If you change them and you forget, then it won't work the way the Procreate manual says or the way a teacher says because you changed it. So just keep that in mind. So on the gesture control quick shape, the default is draw and hold, and then you can control how long you want to hold before it changes. But the other thing you said is it makes a big blob, and some brushes will do that. So for your quick shapes, like here's the syrup brush, which I really love, but it doesn't work
I
good for
love
quick
that
shapes.
too.
It doesn't work good for quick shapes
Oh,
because when you
okay.
hold, it makes a big blob.
That's what
So
it's
that's
doing. Okay.
you'd have to go in and edit the brush to get rid of that. But I noticed that
Mhm.
syrup is very bad at making a big blob. So
Oh,
either,
okay.
either you have to go in and erase it or try a different brush.
Just switch.
Like
So
this
when
one
I
I
go,
use, yeah, this one I use
when I
ink
go,
panels, it doesn't make a blob.
excellent. Thank you. Now,
And
when
my
I go to
triangle
the
was so
wrench,
bad, it didn't even make a triangle. So you can draw so bad that Procreate can't figure out what you want to do.
what you wanted. Um,
Go ahead.
so I don't see anything that says that I go to the wrench, and then what was the next thing is not that, was
Preferences,
it?
prefs.
Oh,
It's all
prefs.
prefs.
Got
And
it.
then down here is
Gesture
gesture
controls.
control.
Now we're in the money. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah. Ouch, my finger locked up. Okay, so here, of course, my triangles did not make 4 because I do not have drawing assist on this layer. So you can turn it on and off per layer. But anyway, I thought that's pretty cool. And of course you can do this for rectangles as well. If you want to have 4 panels, well, I have to make a new layer, turn on drawing assist. And if you want to have, a 4-panel comic, this is a really nice way to make 4 exactly the same. Yeah, now see, I drew too sloppy. Got to turn my page. I have to have it on a certain angle to be able to draw a rectangle. So there we go. And now I can go in there and can say polyline, rectangle, whatever. You can edit the things you draw for a few seconds. So let me take my 3 fingers and slowly swipe back and forth to erase this layer. And I'm going to draw the boxes again. And I'm going to draw and hold. And on while I have this up, if I click on the editing, it puts 4 dots on them on the corners, and I can move the corners of the shape around to straighten it out if I want to and make it fit more or do whatever I want. I mean, it can make it weird if I want. So I can move those dots around right after I draw it. But once I'm done and I touch something else, that goes away. Now I can't select those corners and move it anymore. So it's locked in place. Even if I drew a line and click, hold, and then see it says line here. I can click on that. It says editing. And then I can move the line around and I can make it, like that. And I can do that as long as I want. I can play with it, I can mess around for an hour if I wanted to. But once I click on something else, it's done. I can't edit the line anymore. So that's just something with the quick shapes. And so it has rectangles, it has lines, it also has ovals or curves. So if I wanted to make, oops, see there again, make a new layer, turn on drawing assist. Okay, and if I wanted to make 4 oval panels, I could do the same thing. And I could edit the ellipse right after, and I can move it around. So say I wanted to draw 4 portraits of my grandmothers, or for whatever reason I wanted elliptical panels. That works great for 4, and it's 4, so it doesn't give you much more control than that. But 4 panels is sometimes kind of standard for a comic. All right, one more thing. So I have another new layer, turn on drawing assist, but I'm going to go in here and I'm going to edit the canvas, actions canvas, edit drawing guide, and show you one more thing. You can move this dot around. It doesn't have to be in the center of the page. And you can rotate the drawing guide too. So if you wanted to set your drawing guide up so that you made like some crazy panel arrangement like that and draw in them, and you can do that too. So play with this stuff. There's a blue dot in the center that you can move the center. If you click and hold on it or double click it, you can say reset and it goes right back to the original. But the blue dot moves the rotational point, and then the green dot rotates the actual drawing guide. So now that I've rotated that, if I go in here, I can draw inside those 4 quadrants, and it's rotating around this on an angle. It's not making vertical things. So I think this is really cool for crazy things in comics that you might need for if something like crazy happens and you really just want to make it seem crazier than the rest of your comic, making panels that are not straight vertical boxes or that are not rectangles will really add a emotional impact to that. So last thing, which will just take a second, is in again wrench actions canvas, the reference thing. Okay, if I turn reference on, it opens this little panel and it defaults to canvas. So a lot of time we change it to image and we import a picture here, and so we can look at our picture and draw it at the same time. But I want to show you what the canvas version does, because this is really cool. So I'm here and I'm going to draw cartoon Donna. Okay, she's looking a little crazy today, but there she is, right? Whoop. Okay, now I can move this smaller and bigger and say I want to zoom in here and put better eyes. I can zoom way in here and draw like eyelids and stuff and eyelashes. And I can see over here what it's going to look like on the whole drawing. So I don't have to zoom in and out, in and out, in and out. I can be zoomed in on my drawing and use my reference to see the whole picture. And I can change the size of this too. It doesn't, you can change the size of the reference thing. If you drag on the very corner of it, it changes the size of the reference box. And if you pinch and hold inside of it, it changes the size of the preview. So this is another handy thing you can do on if you want to see what's happening without zoom in, zoom out, zoom in. You can stay zoomed in, but you can see your whole drawing over there. So, here I want to have like open mouth with my teeth. What's that going to look like? Oh my God, she looks like really weird. That kind of does look like me and my grandmother and my aunts and stuff though. So definitely a family resemblance. But that's just another way you can use this reference box that I like to have sometimes. The other thing it's really handy for, so here we're zooming in, but if you had a comic with 6 panels, you could be zoomed in and working on one panel here. And over here, you could still see what your whole page looks like. Because when you draw a comic page, there's the whole page is a picture, but then each panel is also a picture. So it's nice to be able to see what you zoomed in on and also the whole. So I hope that you'll play with the features in the gallery, in the actions canvas from the wrench. If you play with the actions canvas, play with some of those features, and you might find some things that help you with a little bit of a way that seems to work better for you. You know, the page assist, you might like to, I really like that to working on like a 4 or 6 page comic, like for the Saw anthology. So I don't have to I don't have to do this. Like here's well, here I made this mummies thing. So in this version, I have every page on a separate drawing. And that was okay. I could do it that way. But in this comic, I have every page as a separate page. So I can work on this whole comic inside one file if I want to. So play with these things and see if any of them are useful for you for the way you work on comics. There's no right or wrong on any of this. It's just some things are easier. Come on, trying to turn my camera on. Some things are some people like to have each comics page in a separate Procreate file. Excuse me. And some people, I found that I'll do that a lot. Like if I'm making a chapter for a book that has 20, 30 pages, I make them each a separate Procreate file. But if I'm making a small comic, usually up to 10 pages or 12 pages, I might put them all in one file. And then I can look at from page to page without going in and out. But it's just different options for you. So
Donna, would you make each panel on a page a separate Procreate file, or is that just getting too crazy?
I don't do that. I don't do that. I like to draw my whole page, but I do know some people who will draw each panel separately, and then they either put them together in a new Procreate file, or more frequently, if you draw your panels in separate Procreate files, you would probably put them together into a page in something like Affinity Publisher or InDesign. But there's no right or wrong to that. But I find that I want to see what the whole page looks like, because you want the this isn't digital. This reason for this has nothing to do with the digital art. But the reason I like to draw the whole page on one Procreate file or whatever app I'm using is because you want to draw the reader's eye through the panels by the direction the characters are facing, the angle that things are tilted. Everything you put in the panel can kind of have the reader automatically look. They might follow the way the character's looking, and then this is slide that goes down that way, and they'll automatically move their eye that way. And you can't see that happening if you've got each panel in a separate file. So that's why I like to put it all in one for the whole page.
I have a question that, like, so say I've created 6 pages that are, they're just in a stack right now. To put them each on their own layer with Page Assist, would I import each?
Yeah, it kind of
thing, or is that not a thing?
Although you could do that. So here's one I have, right? So these 4 are first of all, they have to be all the same size, right?
Yeah.
Switch my camera back. They have to be all the same size, or you can't really put them into the same file together. But also they have to be either one layer or a layer group, right?
Okay.
So this is something I drew in my planner. So I took a picture of it, or I scanned it, so it's one layer. So I can, take this layer here and drag it out, touch gallery there, and then go into this one, and I can drop it in or into my layer group, and I can put them in there, and then I could turn on Page Assist, and I can have them. But I'd have to go into each one, drag the layer or layer group in, and I don't know that I would bother if I didn't set it up that way from the start.
Okay.
But one other thing is, if you want to create the PDF with all the pages, in your gallery, I'm inside the stack now, I
Mhm.
can say select, and I can pick all these pages here, and I could share them as a PDF now, and it will make a PDF with all those pages in it. So there's more, you don't have to put them all in one file to make a multi-page PDF.
Okay, yeah, okay, great, thank you.
Every time I come to this, my mind gets blown, Donna.
Yay!
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's good. And there can be things that are overwhelming, but if you pick up one tip each time you're here, that's fine. You know, you're not going to remember everything I show you in an hour each time, but if you pick up one thing, like I want to try that, and you add it to your skill set, it will slowly accumulate. So,
Donna, can you please show me just quickly how to get a document out of a stack?
oh yeah,
Just
that's yep, no
simple.
problem. So stacks are if you have, here's my gallery. This is my main thing. I have one image and everything else is in stacks. But maybe I don't want one in the stack, or I want it in a different stack. So I'll go in the saw one, and the city that I drew, I want to take it out of the stack. So I click and hold it so I can drag it around, right?
Okay.
And then I can either drag it up to where it says the name of the stack, and it'll come out of the stack and let go of it there. See that? Or I find it easier to use two hands for this. So if I'll go in here and I'll take my cartoon face and I'll click and hold it so I can move it. And then I'll click the name of the stack to come back to the main thing. And then I can let go of it anywhere on there. So you can use two hands for this, you know, and then of course I can click and drag it again and put it back into a stack same way.
Okay, it worked. Thank you.
Cool.
I had some trouble with that.
Sometimes I have trouble
yeah,
clicking and holding with my hand, so then I try it with the pencil instead, and vice versa. But I'm a klutz, so you know, amazingly I can draw digitally and on paper, but I'm not naturally coordinated. All right.
Thank you
So
so much, Donna. It was
yeah,
great.
thanks for
I
coming.
love it.
Thanks
Thank you.
for coming, and
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
see you in a couple weeks.
Very
Oh,
helpful.
by the way, my anyone who wants to do like this for 4 weeks straight, 2 hours every Saturday, I'm starting a class on March 2nd. That's Procreate tips, 8 hours of my favorite Procreate tips, from sketching, inking, coloring, and shading and everything. So,
I'm gonna. Thank
Uh,
you.
but otherwise,
you.
I'll see you in 2 weeks here. Bye-bye.
thank you, Donna, that's great.
Thank you very much.